AskReddit by Lola. People who are 25Y and above, what's the harshest life lesson you've learned? That life can take a loved one at any time, so cherish those you love, make time for family and friends, and tell people you love them often. This is so true. My grandfather died the morning after the doctor agreed to discharge him from the ICU. I don't have a single picture with him. Never expressed how much I loved him. It seems I had so much to tell him and ask him. And X200B. His death taught me to value people and express my affections more. It's difficult but a necessity. You never know when people you love would not be there anymore. Your health can evaporate quickly. I turned 40 this year. A woman I have known since junior high, full of life, did everything, and I mean every fucking thing right. Great health, worked out, took care of herself, did not feel well one day, went to the doc, got blood work done. The next morning her doc calls her at like 5 AM, get to the hospital now, you are scheduled for an emergency scan as soon as you walk in. That morning she was diagnosed with some form of highly aggressive, very late stage cancer. It had already metastasized to her brain. She had 6 months at most. She died in less than 45 days, and she deteriorated fast. She attempted to chronicle it on her Facebook, but it stopped rather quickly. It is not fair. You have to speak up for yourself. No one else will. And a lot of people will be mad when you do, because it's not benefiting them. Do it anyway. If your employer is doing something illegal or unethical and you decide to confront them about it, for fuck's sake, do it in a way that all communication will leave a paper trail. To piggyback this, keep emails and any other proof of fucking everything so you can always cover your ass. Your friends from high school or college will disappear if you don't make the effort to stay in touch. People in general. I'm 38 and different parts in my life I had friends and family alive that are no longer alive. You feel almost lonely when people that have made up certain memories are no longer there for you to retell it. You also just have life slowly separate people from you. Then you go through changes where some people just took different paths and you don't even recognize who they are anymore. You also cherish those moments that you get that make you feel young and alive again, or having people come back into your life and you didn't realize how much you missed them. You can't make someone love you by giving them more of what they already don't appreciate. Still chewing on this one. Saw somewhere recently that when you see someone's potential, it's really just seeing what you would do if you were them. Sometimes the problem is you. Some people never learn this lesson. There are some truly fucked up people that live and breathe to fuck over other people. This just baffles me. Why do these people choose to be miserable? Doesn't it feel awful to be filled with such hate? Anyone miserable want to share? Do not lie to your significant other. Have hard conversations and trust them enough to be able to have them with you. Give them the chance and don't be afraid. Avoid doing it in fear of rejection or judgment. I learned that one the hard way, unfortunately. Can give this advice to all the R-rater people writing about their so. You can do everything right and still fail. Delete it. There will be people who just don't like you, who might even detest you. And you will never find out why. They might have even been people you considered friends just yesterday. You can be the ripest, sweetest, juiciest peach and there are people who don't like peaches at all. Shit can go south in a literal heartbeat. Yup. Went to work today. For the second time ever at this job. Came home for lunch instead of eating at work or getting fast food. Get home. Find my mom, a stroke victim, covered in blood. She fell and hit her head. Just like that, the rest of my day was spent at the emergency room. Thank God she's alright. 7 staples later. but you literally have zero idea what you're walking into from one moment to the next. Fucking life, man. Sometimes if you risk it to get the biscuit, you don't get the biscuit and actually you destroy your life. Give an example or the context. This is for the people pleasers like myself. You can bend over backwards for everyone, be a doormat, make it your life goal to avoid confrontation, and you're still going to end up being the supervillain in someone's story by the time you hit 30. You're writing your own story. Set your boundaries and realize no girl, guy, vice, or amount of money is worth compromising them. 1000%. Learning to be okay with being alone is a big one. Checking all the boxes required to be successful does not mean you will actually be successful. Well said. Nearly everyone I personally know who is successful works their ass off. But there are also countless people who work their ass off and aren't close to successful. By the time you hit 30, all the small things you've gotten away with that everyone bugged you about starts catching up to you. Bad posture, welcome back a neck pain. Smoking, welcome a strong cough. Never stretch, welcome tightness. Bad diet, welcome various health issues. You always feel invincible when you're young 30s where you realize you were wrong. I'm 33 and fuck you for reminding me of all the things I should have done. I should have tried harder in college and worked with a goal in mind. Working with a goal in mind is a good one. I almost fell into working in design and I just did jobs I enjoyed without much thought about where it was going or how much money I was making. By the time I started at my third agency in my late 30s, I was done with it and I've actually found it hard to move into the type of work I'd like to be in at the type of company I'd like to be at. Many people in leadership positions are anything but leaders. I would go out on a limb and say most managers are just the people who stuck it out through the shitty underpaid subordinate positions so they could get to manager and not actually manage. You can have a loving family, great friends, and financial security but still feel isolated and empty. Don't drive when you are sleepy. I feel asleep driving after working night shift. I was in a coma for 2 weeks and partially paralyzed. After 4 months in the hospital, I was medically retired from the US Army. Before the accident, I was in great shape and I was running about 10 miles per day training for a race. I have not been able to run since the accident. Lesson: don't drive when you are sleepy, you could die or hurt someone else. Thank you for sharing. Hope you are doing okay, that is a very valuable lesson. Recognize where you're putting your effort. Not every situation is a if I just keep pressing forward then someday all my hard work will be rewarded situation. Sometimes when it's over you realize you didn't get anything. Yes. It's better to realize earlier and get out of murky situations than to keep pressing on. That's just recklessness. Hoping and wishing doesn't make things change. Making different decisions and working hard does. Literally most of my relationship problems in a sentence. Took me forever just to ask myself, let's try and be nice today and not expect anything in return. It's hard to keep that attitude up consistently, but it's not hard to do a few times a week and can make a difference. The big part is just monitoring how I'm feeling and not projecting that. Take care of your fucking teeth. Nobody told me that fillings eventually have to be replaced and you'll be paying for that cavity again in 10 years, and then again after another 10 years, and so on. Edit: this is not the harshest life lesson I've ever learned, but it is potentially the most expensive. An infection in your mouth can reach your brain. Another reason to take care. One important tool is an electric toothbrush. Follow with a gulp of hydrogen peroxide that I gargle and swish. First thing in the mornings, I use a tongue scraper. It looks like other people are blessed with motivation and self-discipline and make stuff happen. If you sit around long enough, the angel of self-discipline will float to you and bless you with the desire to do healthy, productive stuff that will benefit you in the short, mid, long term. False. You have to get off your couch and do what you don't feel like doing right now. That's the lesson I had to learn. That last sentence was it for me. I was brought up pretty sheltered and spoiled, and I commonly used "I just don't feel like it" as an excuse and got away with it. Once I was an adult, I had to realize that if you don't do things whether you feel like it or not, barring actual sickness or disability, you'll be miserable. You certainly can't keep a job only going when you feel like it. Your house and your health will be in shambles if you only take care of them when you feel like it. You just have to do things that need to be done. I'm 35 and the harshest lesson I learned is that life sucks sometimes. You think you have everything figured out, but then something bad happens and throws your whole plan off track. It's important to be flexible and not take things for granted, cause shit can hit the fan real quick, yo. Stop being a people pleaser, because at the end of the day you are going to hate yourself even when others are going to love you. You can be really happy one moment, and then super sad in the next. It's important to appreciate each of these things for what they are. You won't be happy forever, you won't be sad forever. I used to think happy was a destination, like you just stay once you get there, but it's like you say, it's moments mixed in with everyday life. Living life costs so much money. Eating food is quite an expensive hobby. You generally have to first make a mistake in order to avoid making it in the future. A saying that resonated with me as a teen and has been a guiding philosophy since. Smart men learn from their mistakes. A wise man will learn from the mistakes of others. I'd have to say that you can't keep everyone happy. At some point, you have to let down, upset, anger someone. It took me a long time to realize this. Being kind is great. Being kind because it protects you from someone else's cruel, hurtful words or actions is only going to tear you apart. Don't twist yourself into pretzels to make someone else happy. Doing business with family. I got burned nearly every single time, and I've had to cut almost everyone out of my life. Most of the people I thought weren't motivated by money have stolen from me. So now I don't really trust people, which kind of sucks. But it's probably a good lesson. Consider any loan to a family member a gift, and you'll never get burned. People come and go. Staying in shape becomes a lot harder as you get older. Try to stay reasonably fit, because once you aren't, clawing your way back sucks. The world doesn't give a fuck about you. Despite all of the disadvantages you are handed in life, it is up to you to fight for your goals. People will hold you back, and sometimes you need to make hard choices. I can't remember where I heard this. It was actually most likely somebody on Reddit that said it, but someone once said life isn't unfair, life just doesn't care, and that stuck with me. Just because your friends are your friends doesn't mean that your work ethic values line up. Friends can still screw you over without doing so intentionally. Heavily abridged TLDR lived with 3 best buddies from high school for several years, who were all older than me. They screwed me on rent and utilities for years because they didn't want to be responsible. I am out thousands, having kept us warm and not homeless. Could not have agreed more with you. A friend's bestie and also her roommate left their apartment before their lease was up, and I had never seen her so distraught in all these years. She had to pay twice the rent and her savings were gone in an instant. And X200B. I'm sorry you had to go through that. Praying that your days get better and what you've lost comes back tenfold. Growing up in the 90s and listening to a lot of rap, I was under the impression that being a thug and getting into trouble a lot was cool, so my suburban ass, along with all my friends, emulated that lifestyle. When I was 20, one of us got murdered. Suddenly it wasn't so cool anymore. Everyone wants to be a gangster, until some gangster shit happens. People don't really attract like-minded people. If you're a normal person, you think along the lines of the golden rule. But I'll tell you this, there's gonna be someone you consider to be a friend who's going to not only disappoint you, they're going to hurt you, and they're not even going to value your friendship enough that they care to rectify that. Hell, they might even enjoy it. At 25 plus, you really have to dig your heels into your values and stick with them. I tolerate a lot of nonsense behavior from my friends, but never something that hurts somebody else, especially another friend of mine. Never pictured myself genuinely telling a friend I'm disappointed in you, but that's growing up, I guess. When money is involved, friendships and family turn different. Also in this world, you are holding a ladder to build someone's dream or climbing one that people are handling. You never get another chance to be young again. Go out into the world. Adventure. Do things you're afraid of. Learn to live with nothing, or very little. Money will come back, but your time doesn't. You learn a new perspective of life, which is extremely valuable. If you're unhappy with yourself, trying to date to fix it usually leads to a worse mindset after several failures, and 99.9% of people will have several failures. If you chase butterflies, they will fly away from you. If you build a beautiful garden, the butterflies will come to you. And even if they don't, then you still have a beautiful garden. My grandfather told me when I was younger, some people are just born evil and sometimes it's impossible to see them coming. He was right. Just cause they are family doesn't mean they are your friends or even have the best interests for you. Some like old friends can be toxic and you have to cut them out of your life no matter the pain in order to save yourself from further harm and agony. Do not stay in one job for more than a few years unless you are being promoted appropriately and given raises appropriately. 7 years wasted while they dangled a promotion in front of me. Fuck you, Rivermark Credit Union. Very few things truly matters. That just because you treat people well, doesn't mean they're going to as well. That your best friend can't be trusted just because she is your best friend. That the smallest mistake you make, and I mean a mistake, not a choice, can be blown way out of proportion. That those who do bad are somehow rewarded, yet the good people are stomped on. I'm almost 30. It's not gonna happen unless you make it happen. No one thinks about you as much as you think. It's not quite harsh, but, well, it can be. Stubbornness means a lot more than innate talent. The upside of this is it's absolutely possible to succeed by being a stubborn little shit refusing to fail. Eater, I know sunk cost fallacy is also a huge issue, but I've largely accomplished the things I've accomplished by being stubborn. It doesn't matter how much you think you know them. You don't know them. Health is everything, especially your eyes. It's the window of how you perceive the world.